And welcome to this presentation for the GCSE Food Preparation and Nutrition as part of the Key Stage 4 Pathways evening. Just to introduce myself, my name is Mrs. Brock and I'm the STEAM faculty leader, which covers food science, computer science, visual arts and design technology. And as a teacher, I'm a specialist food teacher. So if you're viewing this video, you are possibly considering whether you should be doing GCSE food as one of your options. Now, all of our students that choose GCSE food have a love of cooking, first and foremost, and they enjoyed their practical lessons in school. They've enjoyed the experiences that they've had in Key Stage 3. The subject assists the development of important life skills. There's no doubt that studying this subject for GCSE is an important life skill in terms of knowing what to eat and its nutritional value, as well as knowing how to cook a range of dishes. GCSE food leads to a wide-ranging field of future career opportunities, which I'll come to in a moment, and university courses. And it can also help students have the confidence to apply for part-time work in the restaurant and retail industry when they reach the appropriate age. So this first screen covers everything that's covered in terms of our learning requirements over the 2 years of Year 10 and Year 11. We do look at food commodities. So these are listed as bread, cereal, so our staple foods, fruit and vegetables, milk, cheese and yogurt, meat, fish, poultry and eggs, soya, tofu, beans, and butter, oils and margarine. There's a common theme running that when we cover the knowledge for these food commodities, we are looking at the value of the commodity within the diet, and we're also looking at the features and characteristics of each commodity. So looking at the food contamination, the working characteristics, the nutritional properties of that commodity. Nutrition plays a huge part in this course, and we are looking at the macro and micronutrients. Students have to know the function, the main sources of that nutrient in the diet, the dietary reference values and the recommended daily amounts, the consequences of malnutrition over and under, and the complementary actions of the nutrients. So, for example, how vitamin C aids iron absorption, vitamin D and calcium aiding strengthening of bones. We will look at diet and good health. We look at a range of energy requirements of individuals, from celiac disease to lactose intolerance to diabetes type 2 to allergies. So we look at the range of requirements for a range of individuals. It covers vegetarian, religion, a wide range of varied diets that we have within society. Students will be expected to be able to plan balanced diets based on individual needs, and they will be using nutritional analysis software to calculate energy and nutritional values of recipe, meals and diets. The science of food, we look at the effect of cooking. So how does cooking denature, change, coagulate, dextrinization, thickening effect in terms of sources? So we look at the science behind food. Every time we use ingredients, how is it changed? How is it altered? We look at food spoilage. When we look at the commodities, we're all looking at food provenance. So where our food comes from, what the significance it has in terms of determining its name, how is it allowed that name if it's linked to a local area, if there is a particular technique that's associated with it. So we look at the legal implications and the requirements in terms of food provenance, and why food provenance, knowing where our food comes from and its sourcing point, is so important. We look at food manufacturing, how the changes in food manufacturing, whether it's a process, whether it's packaging, whether it's looking at changing and fortified foods, the addition of additional vitamins and minerals into that food, whether it's lost or whether it's a government requirement. And we also look at cooking and food preparation. So we look at the factors affecting food choice, which also will link to the diet and good health above in terms of number 3. We look at preparation and cooking techniques and developing recipes and meals. As well as the on-side in terms of theory learning, students will have fortnightly practicals of 2 hours. So we're very lucky that our practical lessons are of 2 hours to allow a huge range of skills to be developed in Year 10. So I'm just going to bring you through in terms of our course assessment and assessment dates. All of the assessment happens in Year 11. This is the assessment that affects the final grade. So I'm going to focus on this and just return to Year 10. Our Year 11 students will have one examination for food, a written exam paper of 1 hour and 45 minutes. It covers section A, which is a range of based on stimulus materials, whether it's a recipe, whether it's food labelling, whether it's food packaging. The questions will stem from that stimulus material. Section B, it will be there to assess knowledge of food preparation and nutrition. Component 2 is also completed in Year 11, and it is 50% of the final grade. Assessment 1 is the food investigation assessment, often referred to as the food science investigation. This brief is set by the exam board and it changes every year in September. And for example, students so far have looked at which fat is best for short crust pastry, what are raising agents and how do they behave and alter in terms of making a batch of scones. They looked at the different compounds that make raising agents, the different ways that scones can be aerated. We've also looked at the loss of vitamin C through cooking methods and looking at the loss of vitamin C by utilising some of the skills and facilities that we've got up in science. So assessment 1 is 15% and it is a food science experiment. Assessment 2, again, this is released by the exam board in November and it changes every year. This is the food preparation assessment that everybody looks forward to in Year 10. And this is where students get to make their own choices of 3 dishes that they would like to make in 3 hours. So at the moment, the exam boards have given out some amazing briefs. We've had a street food brief where students have looked at a range of street food that they could make and look at the skills. And we've done some visits. We have also had brunch this year as well as picnics. We have had local food. So the briefs are quite wide-ranging, but they're also very interesting for students to become involved in. And students are expected to research, plan, decide on their dishes, plan their 3 hours, make their dishes within 3 hours with no assistance, present their dishes, and then finally to evaluate their dishes. This ends up being 35% of their mark. It's released in November, and we aim to begin it sometime after November once the assessment 1 is completed. So just to get your taste buds going, I've included some pictures of some practical work, some of our street food work that we had a few years ago, I should say. So with the pastry tartlets, because I know we went to St. Nicholas's Market, and we took some inspiration with the breads, with the curries, the samosas, as well as the fruit tart. So we're looking to see a range of skills from bread making, pastry making, sauce making, to look at the presentation of these dishes, to look at portion control, and to think about these ahead of the actual exam. We also have some images here that represent our food science experiments. So students behave in a way that a food technologist and a food science would behave in industry. And you can see here at the top left-hand side, we were looking at different cooking methods and how they lose texture, possibly lose colour, as well as lose vitamin C. The middle section shows the student testing the water with DC pit solution to see the cooking time and the amount of vitamin C loss. So the DC pit would change colour when it detects the vitamin C presence. So if the water is high in vitamin C, the DC pit would change very quickly in terms of colour to indicate high levels of vitamin C. We have some pictures here of the scone making, and that we were looking at aeration. So students investigated bicarbonate soda, baking powder, the chemical compounds, the reactions that they should make, and the conditions that they need to produce optimum carbon dioxide. We've also got the fats at the bottom when we're looking at pastry and looking at animal fats, plant-based fats, and which ones are best at supplying or providing a short texture. And lastly, at the bottom, we have a student here looking at emulsions and looking at which ingredients act as an emulsifier to make a stable emulsion. So these pictures really represent the work, and there is an element of written work that goes with it, but it is a high level of practical experimentation as well as food science investigation. Now, if you're watching this video, you're obviously already thinking about doing food, or you've just come for a little look. Why should you choose this subject? Well, first of all, I'll say you already enjoy food practical work and you wish to develop your skills further. You enjoy food and sharing your dishes with your friends and family. We all enjoy sharing food and celebrations, and if you love putting food together and sharing it with your family, it's another reason to choose GCSE food. If you've enjoyed your lessons in Key Stage 3, admittedly, we've done a lot of practical lessons, but they're very structured. They allow for a range of skills to be developed. We behave in a professional way, as you all do. So if you've enjoyed your lessons in Key Stage 3, please consider doing GCSE. You might be interested in nutrition and the effects of good and poor nutritional choices. You might be interested in food science and how ingredients change, alter and behave. This will really link with your GCSE science work as well. You might be interested in where food comes from and how it's processed into ingredients and food products. And you may be interested in environmental and social issues surrounding food, from packaging, carbon footprint, food security and food poverty. So geography then is another good link to this section in terms of GCSE food. And you know that you enjoy practical work and this will benefit you, because 50% is non-examined assessment completed in school with only one paper. So if you're starting to work out how many exam papers you may have, how well you might perform in exams, or what timescale you've got in terms of the number of exams you've got to do, you might think, well, actually, I quite like to do food because I know I only have to focus on one paper. I will have half of my grade before the examination starts. So that is a benefit if you're thinking of that way. Maybe you want to balance your core subjects with a practical subject. As you know, at Cotton, we offer many practical subjects, and there's a range that you can possibly choose from. But for some of you, you might be thinking, yeah, I really need to do a practical subject. I really need to be moving around. I really need to be making something and doing something throughout my time. And maybe you're considering further study in food or a career in food. So my next slides in a moment will just cover some of the options that you have for further study and potential careers. So in terms of post-16 choices, there is no longer a food A-level, but there is a real push for the government to bring back what was the home economics, what was a food technology A-level. But the same exam board that offers the GCSE delivers the level 3 applied diploma in food science and nutrition. This does carry UCAS points, it's an equivalent to an A-level, and it is accepted by universities. The course runs at North Bristol post-16, depending on the numbers applying. And there's always been we have run it, and it does vary in terms of each year in terms of uptake. It's a very interesting course, and it leads very well from this GCSE. Normally, I haven't included this, and I've decided to include it this time, so I think it's really interesting for students to see that there are university courses out there. We have life and physical sciences. We have food and nutrition, and you can see which universities are offering this currently. We have food science and technology. We have food technology and product development. This is something that I did. I did a food technology degree with business studies, and the food technology product development placement allows you to work in industry for a year. We've got food science and agriculture, so there's always links in terms of doing supply chain. We have School of Animal, Rural, Environmental Science. We've got nutrition and food management. We've got food and human nutrition. We've got food and consumer science. What I realised that I've just missed out is even hospitality management. So in terms of working in the hotel industry, leading businesses, this is also a university choice for students. Potential careers. Now, we have many careers that lead on to from food, and I'm just going to mention a few. We've got food scientists, we've got food buying, so looking at where ingredients come from, sourcing the best quality ingredients and working out the prices for those. We've got nutrition, we've got restaurant management, logistics, how do we get our food from A to B, how do we get it transported from Europe into the UK. We've got product development, food law compliance. This will become even more important now we've left the European Union. So working with Europe, but also having our own laws for food law compliance, quality assurance, nutrition therapists, so working within PE or working within the health service. Television and TV production, there's a huge number of TV programmes on at the moment, and they always need people behind the scenes to set up. That links also with food journalism, marketing, food photography, and food retail management. So there's a vast range of career choices that are available to students should they wish to study food and take it further. I put on there because by all means students might be thinking about being self-employed and running their own food businesses, may have that idea. Food teachers, we are very short of food teachers, we're getting much older, and over recent years I think because the collapse of the A-level has meant there's less students trained to be food teachers. So there is a shortage, and I'm sure at some stage the government will be pushed to encourage more people to go into food education. And what I can already see that even primary schools are starting to establish teachers that are solely responsible for food teaching at primary schools. So this is an option for many of our students to consider. Very briefly, by doing the course, even if you don't take it further, it enables you to get some part-time work. So whether when you reach 16 you want to be doing some work within a restaurant, whether you want to help out a local cafe, whether you want to travel once you finish at university. There's a range of different things that you can do once you've got the confidence with food and be able to cook a range of dishes that you can go and help out and work. And we have had students that go off and work in the ski season and have come back to me and always asked for reference just to comment on their practical cooking skills. So that will assist as well. Visits. I'm always really keen to organise visits and really extend the curriculum outside of the classroom. So far we have done visits to the Better Food Company. We've done visits to St Nicholas's Street Food Market. We've worked with Taste Again to have pheasant supplied free to school to allow students to work with pheasant and be introduced to game meat. We have chef visits and demonstration from local employers. We've had the armed forces through and people talking about apprenticeships. We've been involved in Bristol Food Connections. This was very similar to The Apprentice. So students ran a food store at the Harbourside Market. We were at the fruit and vegetable market at about 6 o'clock in the morning, purchasing our products with a set budget, coming back into school, getting these ready and going down to the Harbourside Market to sell those in the afternoon. In school time, we will do barbecues outside in good weather. So normally in the summer term of year 10, we look at meat preparation and we'll do a barbecue. We have taken students out for meals or afternoon tea with local businesses if this fits into our brief. And we've also gone to Bristol Food Connections in terms of the media launch. And we always encourage students to enter national and local competitions. So, for example, Bristol Young Chef. So these images here just represent some of the things that we've done, from the sea bream and squid workshop to the visits by the chef to up the top our market stall that we had at the Harbourside, to some pictures that we took at St Nicholas's Market when students went down as part of their research. And we're so very fortunate in Bristol to have a wide range of food businesses, employers, people with a general interest in food that like to come into school and talk to students. So in terms of supporting students, our homework will consist of Seneca and GCSE pod, so assignments preset for students. After each practical, students are expected to complete a Google Doc, an evaluation of their dish, to look at nutrition and the changes in terms of food science. And even if students have been absent, they will have an element of the practical they can still complete by the preset questions on those practical evaluation sheets. So also there's a wide range of support for students. We are fully equipped with our textbooks and our online access for our textbooks. So we have that revision guide. We have our own independent study list for students that will work through the whole curriculum, so they know exactly in advance of what topics we are going to cover. Seneca is always a go-to resource for independent learning, as well as GCSE pod. You can see here some of the listing of the types of skills that students have to develop, and we would encourage students as much as possible to practice cooking at home. They still have to tidy up correctly, but we do expect them to really try and make things at home just to give them that confidence, because even though we're cooking once a fortnight, getting the confidence to be able to cook 3 things in 3 hours with accompaniment, with no assistance, does take development and practice, exactly the same as any other subject in school. To read the recipe, practice the recipe, work out the different things that might have to be altered depending on the cooking environment in which you're working in. Watching TV programmes is always a good source of knowledge as well as ideas for presentation. So for further information, please do contact me in school. The exam board is listed here. You might like to follow us on Twitter at Cotton Food just to see a highlight of the work that we do. I've just included a little picture of the classroom of our GCSE room so you can see the environment in which students will be working. And one of the things that I would just like to finish on is that sometimes parents say, I can teach all these skills at home, and often we can, but even myself as a working parent, I haven't always managed to do this for my children in terms of practical cooking skills. So by doing it in school, the delivery and the knowledge of nutrition is always going to be different from the practical skills that we can develop at home. So most importantly, if students are thinking about doing GCSE, it is a really good choice for a GCSE course. Please do contact me, as said. Thank you.